Yes.
Welcome to Big Conversations by Ordinary People podcast.
I thought it was Big Conversations by Little People, but I'm glad I was wrong about the title. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
No, it's an honor to accept our invite. We call people and they tell us, no, you guys are too small for me. I'm waiting for a bigger brand.
Well, to be fair, you need to understand. Everyone's about their brand. I mean, I know it may come off as a bit dicky, but they have their reasons. It's something I've learned to accept.
I agree.
It's not in a bad way.
I agree. Usually we also try to get people who are willing to accommodate our brand as it is. So when we bring people and they be like, are we going to shoot from Hotel Africana? We're like, maybe you're not our guest.
Well, truth be told, there is such a thing as too soon.
True.
But you guys have beaten the podcast curse. The one of they never go beyond 5 episodes.
3 episodes even.
3, it's probably even less than that.
Yeah.
And I always give props to hard work, man. So well done.
I agree. No, that's I say we have again it's a team thing, but we have the guy who's producing this, Mark, the guy Keron.
The juice guy. Former juice
exactly, guy. Exactly, juice guy. He has really put in his everything to make sure this thing stays alive. So needs kudos for that.
Props.
So how have you been, man? I know we've been talking before the podcast. I was like, why can't I make this guy keep quiet so we can have all this conversation in the podcast already?
Oh no, I'll have conversation for hours for you. Don't worry about that.
So I just want to know, what's up? So last weekend was your birthday. What's up with your life right now?
You know what the funny thing is? I have no idea. This is the most confused I've ever been.
Oh wow!
At 34.
So is it like a shock for like a new year? I'm like, fuck, what is the direction now?
Partly yes, but also it's because the things that have mattered to me my entire career are becoming secondary.
Oh.
If I can put it that way. You know, when it's always been stand up, it's always been film, traveling, entertainment, creative directing, acting, all of that, and now your biological clock is ticking. I have baby fever.
Oh, I see.
I've got baby fever, man. And I'm like, what is wrong with me? What is happening to me? So there are changes that I also don't understand yet, to be fair. It's like going through adolescence all over again. That's why I'm saying I don't know. There's lots of changes going on.
There's midlife crisis. Is that where we are now?
I don't like that word because I believe I'm going to age at least until 90.
Okay.
So this can't be my midlife. I thought that doesn't come out the same way, but I get what you're trying to say. So it's I think that is it, and it has hit my creativity quite hard. I saw one of your I saw YouTube stand up where you claimed that this will be your last. Are you retiring? Why are you doing that Jay-Z thing where you retire enough to see if the competition is strong? I don't remember saying that. Which year was it from?
The video is 2020. So 2020? I remember, saying that this is probably my last stand-up. Maybe I got it out of context.
If I could see the video again, I would probably have a better response for you because
let me look that up.
I won't lie. I don't remember half the things I say on stage. I have my set. I know my material. I know my direction. But there's a lot of improv in between.
I see. I want you to see. So maybe it's me who got it out of context. So it's that.
Oh, Stand Up Uganda.
So you're saying this is your last for Stand Up Uganda?
That was, yes, because it was a competition and people were being eliminated.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, it was, this may be that was the beginning of my career. That was the start of everything.
Oh, wow.
I'm a competition baby.
Yeah.
I'm one of those entertainers who came out of talent search.
Like Blue 3. Is it Blue 3?
Basically, the whole class of 2009. Alex Muhanji, Salvador, who else is there? I mean, Mendo and Pablo were there already before, but they also went through the competition. Honestly, I think only a few survived. I won't lie, from the class of 2009. But we were all competition babies.
Oh, I see. So how do you, by the way, rank? So I know these things differ, and this is the same question. We had Emeka a few episodes back, and this is the same question I asked him, like international scope of comedy, right? Stand-up comedy. and the Ugandan scope, right? So Uganda has multiple. So I see your version of comedy, right? Where you come and try to do a monologue, right? But what also the other version of comedy that's so Ugandan is where you try to be as vulgar as possible. Yeah, and I know there's sort of an American version of that as well. I don't like it. But how do you rank the best Ugandans, versus the best, say, Americans? Okay, maybe is it a very comparison even?
The best Ugandans, we are doing quite well as a comedy industry.
Okay.
All things considered, and I'm going to explain this in a bit because anyone watching would think we're in a very bad place. At some point, myself inclusive, because we're at that point where comedy has gone so mainstream. The profanity is all the way up here. At least that has been the experience. But you also have to remember that this is one platform. Because usually they're talking about Comedy Store. And all due respect to Alex Mohanji, it's an amazing production.
It is.
Amazing. I don't agree with the content.
Yeah,
but I have to respect the fact that the man has put in good work and he has done an amazing event and people flock there. And the thing I always ask people is, why are there so many Rolex stands in Kampala? Because people love Rolex, right? Why are there so many vulgar comedians right now?
Because that's the market.
There's an audience for it.
I see. Yeah.
There's a very ready market.
Capitalism argument.
Yes. And 10 years ago, I would have said, oh my God, you're ruining the industry. But now I look at it as a phase that I think we have to go through.
I see.
This is part of the growth process. We're not going to be at this point forever. What breaks our hearts, and I realized this is what was bugging me, was the fact that we started out stand-up as an English-speaking, and then we came to Luganda. Initially, I was thinking we came down to Luganda, but I realized we just came to Luganda. They sort of leveled themselves out. Now, I can't dictate what someone does with their platform.
Yeah.
All I can do is build my own. So I had, another comedy club. I literally called it another comedy club because there were so many comedy platforms in Kampala. Yeah. Another comedy club focused entirely on English.
Comedians.
English speaking, clean content. There were rules. Even when I worked in Comedy Files as talent recruiter and coach, there were rules. One of the rules was your content doesn't make it to YouTube if it's profane. You have to come for Sunday rehearsals. We go through your material because I'm not going to lie to you. Most of the profanity is a result of poor preparation.
I see.
I'm going to be very upfront with you. It's a scapegoat. Once you know the audience is going to laugh the moment I go here,
well, isn't that the point,
always go there. Eh?
Isn't the whole point of comedy to trigger the audience to laugh?
Yes, but if that's all you want to do, then it's up to you. I mean, people are supposed to laugh, right? And I can understand that. Yeah. So what happens the day you're challenged with a more intelligent audience? You see where the restriction is. I see. Challenge yourself first. Challenge yourself. Prepare yourself for the greatest challenges so that you can take on the lesser challenges. Because I don't think an audience that is entirely reliant on profanity for humor is a challenge. Personally, for me. Maybe it's just me. But I don't find it challenging. I'm like,
let me give me a good analogy, right? And I like what you're saying, right? So one of the most recent news in art and music, right? International music is the Drake's album versus the Kanye West album, right?
Yes.
If you listen to both albums, I'm not very religious, but you appreciate that, the production on Kanye West's work is miles and miles ahead. It's sort of, Drake will start doing that music 10 years from now, right? the production quality, right? Yeah. Drake obviously has his smooth bars, his rap thing, it has an audience, right? But that is a thing. So if Wemi says, okay, no, he doesn't say, but in my opinion, right?
Yes.
Because of the consequence of his work, he's not emphasizing the kind of audience. His audience will understand his profanity and is okay with it.
And they're okay with
his shallowness, rather. And he's okay with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe it's not even shallowness. We have... One of the things I also had to adjust to and understand is I'm one of those people who used to think language and intelligence went hand in hand. Yes. Yeah. I thought I was smarter than a Luganda comedian because I spoke English, right? This is very early in my career. And I had to learn. There are very many intelligent, highly intelligent people who have just figured out their audience. There's two ways to look at it. One, I could say you're lazy by being profane. Two, I could say that is what someone chooses to do for that audience. But then you find them at a totally different audience and they're doing something.
And they can't pull it off. Yeah.
It's a whole other set now. It's a whole other person. I will go to a bar and find a drunk audience and, jump on the
Profanity.
crazy side. Never the profanity side. Because if you're being profane in English, then
Yeah, I see.
you're trying really hard. They're throwing in the F words and what. First of all, why?
Yeah, and also the F words don't sound so authentic in Uganda when you're using. Yeah.
Say it in vernacular. It will be felt.
Yeah.
But because English is not our first language.
True.
It's not. It's really not. And it would be disrespectful for me to say Luganda comedy is pulling us down. No. I'm glad they've established their market. Mm-hmm. It's not my market.
Yeah. Well, it's painful to accept. What's your tribe? What's the language you speak?
9 different types of Luo, but I'm Lao. Originally, I'm Lao. Yeah.
Okay, so Luo Lango. Sorry.
Lao is the tribe. Luo is the thing.
Luo is the language.
Okay,
yeah.
I don't want to go into the complexities, but
okay. So let's say Luo, right?
Yes.
When you go to speak to people who understand your first language, right? Don't you feel more comfortable making your jokes?
Yes, a bit.
In Luo, yeah.
Because the problem with being a teacher of English language is English has sort of become my first language.
Oh, I see. I didn't know that. I didn't know that by the way. Okay, yeah. No. Yeah. Let's keep talking.
Yeah. It has affected me a lot. So my L1 switched from Lao. I speak fluent Lao, but I think in English, which becomes problematic. You understand when you're speaking your words keep coming back to you as you speak, and you're like, oh, I didn't know I had a word for this in my head, in my language. So I'm not going to lie to you, it's a bit problematic. I can do it. The beauty is a lot of Northerners understand English. So I don't have to switch too much to cater to them. We have our inside jokes as Northerners. So you write your full set in English, but somewhere in there you keep fitting in bits that are strictly for the North.
I see.
And these are show specific.
I see. Oh yeah, so I distracted you, but you are still saying you felt more intelligent than people who did their comedy in vernacular.
Yeah, I thought I was smarter. But as I got older in the industry, I just started to realize there's different audiences. There's the Dikula had his audience. Dikula, the original slapstick, Uganda's Charlie Chaplin. He had his audience. And people may think of it as a lesser form of comedy. Possibly so. But he's a pioneer. We all sort of come from that. Because no matter how much I talk on stage, I'm a stand-up comedian. I still need physical movement to illustrate what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
Some jokes are funnier when they're illustrated. It's just that. So the Dikula effect is in stand-up. What I would maybe have a problem with is too much Dikula. I'm like, if I'm putting you on a stage to do stand-up, do stand-up. Don't
overskate it again.
It becomes a bit weird.
There's okay, so that's one thing, right? There's also and I'm going to switch a little bit to skit. Again, since I'm not an expert on comedy, for me I consume comedy as anything that makes me laugh, right? But then
and it's okay.
Yeah, that's
if mosquitoes do it for you.
Yeah, that's so the thing about the skit comedy now, right? First of all, there is a new market, but that's because there's a new form of distribution, right? So if you see most platforms, if you see TikTok, if you see stories, Snapchat, it's easy to push a skit, right? You can't do like what we do on stand up, what you guys do on stand up with a monologue, because again, the only platform you can distribute a monologue is YouTube. But most people are consuming most of their content on TikTok and Snapchat and whatever, right?
The revolution is there.
True. So there's also two kinds of that, right? So there is, again, the vulgar, sort of, I think the word is cheap, right? It's enticing, but it's also easy to come up. It's not so creative. It's just provocative in a way, right? But there's also content. I don't know if you've had a chance. I'm sure you have. Mike Aboneka, Uncle Mo.
Oh yes.
Yeah. So there's also
amazing
that.
guy.
There's also that version of content, right? Where it's also a testing. So I enjoy his skits a lot, but I imagine people who would be like, where is the joke? When is he going to make the joke? Because again, it's it has too many references, right? It's not joke and punch. Okay, I mean the punchlines are there, but the structure of his comedy requires. Okay, I don't want to use the word.
It needs you to be attentive.
True.
And a lot of people are not. The attention span for this generation was what? I think it was I was talking to someone from, I think, either DSTV or MTV, and they're telling me the attention span is 15 seconds. You have to get to your point in 15 seconds. And it's decreasing. I mean, this was a conversation I had 2015. So it may be even lower now.
Yeah.
So that's why it's just harder to consume content nowadays. You have to shock people with whatever you're dropping.
Exactly.
Statuses are 30 seconds?
Yeah, true,
like
true.
just bite sizes
seconds,
and what?
15 seconds actually.
Yeah, but you can create for your audience, because I don't think everyone's supposed to follow the same path. If Uncle Mo has his audience and they're willing to listen to what he has to say,
he's actually doing really good.
Yes, it may be a niche crowd, but first of all, it's growing, and then secondly, it's loyal to him. They have found their person, he has found his people. So for me personally, I think everyone, this is even a rule in know your audience. Just know your audience. I don't expect people to like me at Mbuto Mbutikizi. What am I doing at a Bukede event? I don't even know Luganda.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't come out and quarrel and say, why don't they ever invite me for Uganda events? No, I'm not the guy for that audience. I'm just not. And it's allowed, by the way. It's like someone, I hear corporates all the time complaining about Agataliko Mfufu. And they're saying, but this Agataliko Mfufu, this content. And I always smile because I'm like, it hasn't yet occurred to you that you're not the guy they want to. If you're complaining about it, then you're not the one supposed to be watching it.
I see.
To some extent. It's not to say that there's no bad comedy or no bad content. There is a lot of bad content. I can give you a very clear example. Uganda YouTube on lockdown. No, the panic response was bad. There was a panic response.
I see. Okay.
There was, because everybody saw TikTok and all this social media revolution was happening, and it's quick stuff. So everybody ran to YouTube, especially after that that report came out. The one that showed the top YouTubers in Uganda. Their accounts and how much they were making. Eddie Kenzo, Kansime, Mohanji were at the top.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, there's money in YouTube.
Now,
people did the typical Ugandan thing whereby if one person sets up a mobile money stall,
the whole
street is going to be aligned with them. So everybody jumped on YouTube. And I must say, a lot of them are my friends, but no.
The quality was too bad.
Was a panic response. People were panicking to stay relevant. Nobody sat down and thought and structured their shows. I do creative consultancy for Kansime. Creative directing for Kansime. And the one thing I realized is YouTube is a TV channel.
True.
You're running a TV channel.
Yeah.
You write the content. You worry about quality. You plan the posts. You schedule them. There's a whole arrangement going on. But guys just jumped on YouTube. Everybody just went there. The panic was real. And these were a lot of stand-up comedians, because our industry suffered a big blow with lockdown, with the pandemic.
Yeah.
What people don't realize is it started whooping us a lot earlier than most others. So the official lockdown was what, March?
Yeah, around March.
Late March. We had been struggling since January. Because in Jan, international gigs lost. Feb, regional gigs lost. By March, we were losing local gigs, and then we got shut down. So people are calling asking for refunds. Can I get that money back? And I'm sitting there like, okay, with all due respect, no. But we can reschedule this. Whichever other day you put the event,
I see.
I will come through, because I also still want that other half of the money.
Yeah.
There were gigs, people were calling in and doing office parties, Zoom parties, where you record your comedy set and send it to them. But I also think that was for a very small class of comedians.
I see.
Yeah, it wasn't like everybody was getting those gigs. So I can understand the panic. Everyone running to YouTube to find a way to stay relevant. I can understand the panic. I wish, my criticism is they should have prepared a little more.
So that's also the other thing, right? Part of what makes, so if you do, say, for example, if you have a prepared set that you do multiple times, right? Say if you're on a tour and you go to Kampala, you do the thing, you go to Mbale, you do the thing, most of what makes you polish up on your routine is the audience, right? If you're in your bed and you think of a joke and you say this is funny, and then you go and people just don't get it, and then or maybe they just need a little bit of context. It could be a funny joke, right? Yeah. But people just didn't know that maybe, say you're making a joke about who is the best person to make a joke? Nabanja. Say you're making a joke about Nabanja, but the reference you have is not so popular among the audience. So you go back, you say, the next part of this tour, I just have to change this reference because people didn't understand that, this is who I'm trying to throw the jab at, right?
Yes.
But the thing about like that kind of comedy is it's interactive, back and forth, right? You go perform the routine to the audience tells you, this is good, this is good, this is good, this we didn't get, this don't bring back, things like that. And then you make a second version of that routine, which is almost the same routine, but you've polished up the jokes, you want them to hit hard, and then you've taken out the stuff, this is just far-fetched. But when it comes to now like lockdown, where you have to record your skit and put it permanently on YouTube, there's no, that feedback isn't there. What you're going to get a comment of people saying, you guy, get away. What? Yeah. How do you like manage to?
And I'll be honest with you, it's part of the reason I've taken so long to get on YouTube.
I see.
I had to get over the stand-up comedian in me. I even struggle on radio. I have a show on RX called Hear Me Out, and I don't like talking to myself. I've become, over the 13 years in this industry, I've become so accustomed to immediate feedback. You hit a punchline, audience laughs. You crack a joke, they don't get it. You know exactly what the situation is. Now you have to deal with an audience that doesn't know what it is. Or you have to deal and you can't.
You have to imagine
you don't know
the
what
audience.
it is.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
you have to imagine the audience and talk to yourself. It has tortured a lot of us, especially the stand-up comedians, because we were predominantly
interactive.
Yes, interactive gigs. People's presence, we fed off the audience. So it has been a bit of a struggle. It has been quite a struggle. But what I can say is there's also this thing you do when you're writing stand-ups where you sort of preempt what the audience is going to think about, right? Like if let's say, did a joke about, personally I don't trust gynecologists. I'm just going to say it out loud. I don't. But when we're talking about the Kenzo Rema thing, as team gynecologist. Because no one else was supporting the guy. No one else was talking about him. I'm like, why is this guy getting away scot-free? And you have to build that set. You have to build it, right? Now, you know very well, bringing up a topic like a gynecologist is going to raise ears. Guys are going to be like, okay, he's about to become vulgar. Preempt. It's like, I know what you're thinking, but don't go there. Hear me out. Here's the thing. Why did he pick this career, right? This is why I don't trust gynecologists. Like, I saw, when I was a kid, I wanted to fly. I wanted to be a pilot because I love to fly and I like to fighter piloting. Doctors look at sick people, want to treat them. You understand? Electricians look at bulbs and they're inspired. For you, where were you looking?
Yeah, exactly.
For your inspiration. But I've already preempted the audience.
True.
You have to sort of preempt and say, because sometimes you're going to walk a fine line and they have to be ready. Or sometimes they're going to disagree with you and you just have to be prepared for that. You say that, like, I did a joke once that actually pissed off a lot of people, but it was explained in advance. So I told them the biggest difference between men and women is men think and women expect. And there's, I'm like, first wait. I mean, in terms of language. In regards to language, you get. I mean, when a guy comes home at the end of the day, he's looking for his cup of tea. He's like, honey, I thought there was some tea. It's like, baby, I expected you to leave money on the table for me to go shopping.
I see.
Get.
That's
you take a girl out on a date, you think she's coming alone.
And then she comes.
She shows up with 3 friends because she expects you to take care of them. Let me give you the best example. When you catch, when men are caught cheating, what's the first thing they say? Honey, it's not what you think. And what's the woman's response? You expect me to believe that? So it's a play on language.
I see.
Of course, people jump straight to the, you're misogynist. I'm like, a joke is a joke. Relax.
True. And so how does, so you said you're a teacher of English, right?
Yes.
Can I say
And
English
literature.
teacher, or you're going to critique me for calling you an English teacher?
I will.
Okay, so
Let me let it go.
Yeah, so how does sort of that profession, because I see, again, part of from what you've just said, part of your art is how familiar you are with the language, right? You know English well enough to play around with our mind, to trick us to play, you sort of know our expectations for the language, and so you can play around with that. How is that an advantage to other comedians who are, speak English when they're forced to carry the bone. You know, remember in primary when we're forced to carry the
to wear the sack.
Yeah, to wear the sack.
I am a vernacular speaker. The good old days. I never got that, first of all.
Yeah.
I never understood why we were not allowed to speak our native languages in school.
The worst part is our parents went with it. You know, the
Yes.
teachers, you'd understand maybe it was their
I
job,
never
but why
understood.
did our parents allow that?
When I taught in Taiba, the one thing I told them is, I don't care if you speak Luganda on the compound. I just don't want Luganda in the English class. Because we're learning English. We can't learn English in another language. That was my only quarrel.
True, that makes sense, yeah.
But regardless of what language you're doing comedy in, English or otherwise, vocabulary is very important. I keep emphasizing this. It's exactly the reason why I can't perform in Luganda. Same reason why a Luganda speaking comedian will not be able to perform in English. They don't have the words for it. Now, if you're going to perform in a certain language, at least master your vocabulary. It helps a lot because on stage you forget a lot of things, but if you have enough words in your head, you can buy time to remember them. You just
I see.
play around with words a bit here and there as you try to get your set back, because that happens a lot. You lose your material at some point. That's why when Al Projas was coaching us in Stand Up Uganda, the one thing he said is know your material. Rule number 1, know your material. So you can't go on stage without knowing what you're going to say. Plan what you're going to say, prepare for what people may come at you with, and also be ready for expect the unexpected. And that's where it's important to just know how to communicate. Not even just vocabulary, just know how to communicate well in the language you're speaking so that you can react to a person appropriately. Not everyone coming at you from the audience has bad intentions. If anything, most times they have your best intentions. They have the best intentions at heart. They're trying to support your show. They're enjoying it so much they get involved. So they say something. Now, as a comedian, don't fight. Don't make it a fight. This person is not challenging you to a fight. They are participating in your set. So take what they are giving and then give something back. So you can use the yes, but, where you challenge their opinion. Or you can say yes, and, where you compliment their opinion.
Yeah, what about those like people in the audience who just choose to be assholes? So some of the the Netflix the Netflix things I see, some of the guys just want to irritate. Maybe it could actually be, so for example, Dave Chappelle is one of my favorite comedians, right? And he makes comedy, say, about controversial subjects.
Yes.
Recently, I think it has been mostly about the transgender community, right? And so if some transgender, right? And I know the guy is funny, fine, but I just don't like this part of the content. And so my option is to go and irritate him, right? What would be like that could be, I could have a reason, but some people could just want to, some people prefer chaos, right?
Well, they choose violence.
Yeah, they choose violence, yeah. Like, how do you sort of mitigate that? I've seen, for example, in some of those, I think even Dave Chappelle's one, where he gets off script and he starts to diss whoever is trying to cause chaos until they make them so uncomfortable that they leave. Yeah. How do you handle such stuff? Where the audience is just violent one.
I always say avoid violence. Avoid violence at all costs. The thing in comedy is, if you need to sacrifice 10% of your audience to entertain the other 90, you go for it. Doesn't have to be violent. You could either choose to fight the heckler opposing you, or win over the audience supporting you. There's 2 ways it could go. If you choose to fight the heckler, you could lose. And once you lose the authority while you're on stage, you stop being entertaining to the audience. Because the reason they're listening to you is trust. They believe the fact that you're on stage and you have the microphone means you're an authority. If someone challenges your authority and defeats you, means they should be on stage, not you. So you'd rather win over the audience that is with you. It's like
I see. That's a very good point.
I've had hecklers come at me in Uganda all the time. I think those are my my biggest hecklers are in Uganda. And someone's just going to shout a profanity from the audience, a random one. And, out of the blue, right? And I'm just like, okay, now say it in English. Just that. I haven't fought him. I know my audience. And he may not be, but the reason he's saying this is maybe because he's not my people's. And I get that. So I stay with my people. I'm staying with my peoples. I stay with my peoples as opposed to fighting him. Because when I start fighting him, I'm now fighting him and his people.
I see. Yeah.
You're starting a war, and that's a war you don't want to lose on stage. Trust me.
So part of comedy is what's the name of that guy? The Art of War.
The Art of War. Comedy is more psychology than humor. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah.
You have to read the crowd. You have to understand the dynamic. You have to be aware of where you are at all points. And we always joke about the Twakowa chick. The Twakowa chick, that woman who sits in the front row. I use Twakowa chick because I've seen more Twakowa chicks. I've never met the Twakowa guy. Yeah. But the Twakowa chick seated in front, usually wealthy. Well-to-do woman buying her own drinks, just seated there, big belly, angry for no reason. Upper lip is in the nose, just mad at you for no reason. Every joke you crack, she doesn't laugh. Just is barely. And don't focus on the Twakowa chick.
Find your...
You have 100-something other people listening to you. Get your eye off this chick, because that's the chick you meet in the club. She's the mother hen. A bunch of homegirls are partying. You go to talk to one of them and she pops like, "Hey, what do you want?" That's the Twakowa chick. Don't focus your energy on that person. It wouldn't be a smart move for you to fight with the one person who isn't listening and ignore the others who are attentive.
Sure.
Priorities.
I see. Let's switch a little bit away from comedy. Well, not far away. So before again we started the conversation, we were talking about podcasting, and this is sort of we started this as a passion, but now we are getting into it as a business more and more. But the nature of most of the people who inspire us, most of the podcasts that we are looking at internationally are run by comedians, right? And in my opinion, sort of the nature of comedy, especially the monologue kind of comedy, is a conversation, right? And when you go, say, for a 1 hour routine, and what you said, interacting with the audience may not be responding with words, but, you have to wait for, it's not like a real film monologue, a film monologue where the deputy principal has to give a speech about feminism and it's, so deep and so boring. Comedy is different because comedy, you have to sort of, I don't know the technical words, but you have to make the first statement, wait to see how people take it, maybe derail them to thinking something else, and then throw a punchline and be like, and that is sort of the back and forth.
Subvert the expectations.
And podcasts. The nature of podcast is conversing, right? Sort of what radio used to be when radio was a thing.
Well,
we are now
good old radio. Good old radio.
Yeah, so what radio used to be when radio was a thing, right? And now there's the podcast nature, but also the thing about podcasts is, so radio and TV, they have the 24-hour limit, right? You can only squeeze so many things within the 24 hours because when your program goes at 9 a.m., at 9 p.m., the person has gone, right? But what we are doing is, this is recorded and persisted. So when someone comes to listen, when they're tired, they can pause and go home. When they're bored, they can skip and listen to the next thing. When they have time, they can do 2 hours of the same thing, for example. And I'm wondering, what do you think, like comedians' roles in Ugandan podcasting, for example? What I've heard, and I think we are also guilty of this, what I've heard a lot of podcasts be is very, very formal, very official stuff. So, you get a podcast about business. Kabushenga is doing spaces. It's almost very similar to podcast, but again, it's
tune
also...
in daily.
Yeah, exactly. But it's also very formal. I also listen to that, right? It's very formal, but I'm wondering, that other version of podcasting that's just fun, something I play on my way to the beach, instead of listening to that shitty Drake album, something I play on my way to the beach.
I thought you were Team Drake.
No, Team Kanye West. But something you play on your way to the beach, just for fun. Two people having a conversation and just sort of making weird jokes. I'm wondering, where you see the role of comedians in this.
Of course, comedians would fit in very well, but here is my one critique of stand-up comedians in Uganda. I'll speak for stand-up comedians in particular. We have a problem. We focus so much on the comedy, we forget to be interesting.
Okay, I thought comedy was an interesting part.
It's punchline-based delivery, right? So you're trying to throw a joke every other moment you get, every other chance you get. You're trying to execute based on your training. 4 punchlines a minute is like the ultimate killer performance. Now you carry that into conversations, which is not sustainable. because you end up falling back on old content and you become repetitive, right? What comedians and a lot of people in general need to do is learn the art of sustainable conversation. Just be interesting. Have a conversation, talk, let it, drop some knowledge, say something funny if it comes up, no pressure, just talk. Gaetano is the best example I can give. Gaetano is one of the most interesting people. He's not funny. He's not funny. I don't think
Gaetano put a lot of effort to like be funny.
Gaetano is not trying to be funny. But Gaetano will own a conversation. Huh? What? No. Are you guy? And he's not even trying. That's him. That's Gaetano. We need to learn that art of just banging kabozi. Because when stand-up comedians get together, it becomes a competition for who's throwing the most jokes.
Oh wow, okay.
So it's important for them to know that, because a lot of us have experience with radio. I worked with XFM, I'm now with RX. Alex Muhanji basically grew up on radio. Salvador Sanyu, he was on Capital before. Napoleon Emma has been, Cotilda in Napo, almost every stand-up comedian has been on radio, but they all had the same weakness and had to learn how to talk. So I'm saying this for the newer generation of comedians. It's you have to learn how to bang kabozi, how to be interesting in a conversation without trying to be funny all the time, because that means you're not listening to what the person is saying. You're waiting for the next joke you're going to crack. You're more in your head than you are in the conversation.
I see. Yeah. And actually, I didn't. Yeah, I mean, I get that, and I think I say that's what we're trying to do. We unfortunately are not funny enough to. But I hope I wish there was like a way we could have that balance where we crack you up. Ooh. But you still listen to like some of the things we have to say,
I can share with you one very simple thing. Please. One very energy.
Please. I see.
Like if we switched it up now and just began like, you guy, now you see what the plot is. It's like so. Kakati. Comedy is an art. It is a beautiful thing, and for me, it is my bear. It is my first love. And I take every opportunity I can to teach, because that has been what I've been doing since 2009, right? Recruitment, every platform we've built, that has been my field. Crackers, it's not racist if you're watching this show. I'm not trying to be racist. the group was called Crackers because Rib Crackers was taken. So Comedy Files and another comedy club. It has always been about dropping knowledge. So it's essential for people to get to know these things and have these discussions, but keep them as interesting and engaging as possible. So you see the energy has changed now.
I see. I don't think I can maintain mine. It's like the jogging thing. When you find someone who's so used to jogging, when you tell him I can't go an extra meter, he's like, you man, why don't you have the energy?
Motivation, skill. But it's just have fun with it. Enjoy yourself. Audiences feed off your energy.
True. No, but that's true by the way. Most people, especially for most long form stuff, like a stand-up routine or whatever, most people don't go back memorizing, apart from, that one outstanding punchline that you had. Most people don't go back memorizing the content. They just go back memorizing the mood. It's that feeling they had for that whole hour, that it's sort of like a hypnosis thing. It's I agree on that.
It's a journey for them. So true. They came with you, they were with you, you left together, you in their heads.
True. Let's now move on a little bit to something different that I wanted to pick your head on, right? Well, that's the nature of the podcast anyway. We call it big conversations.
So I can oil my lips. They're getting dry with this guy.
We call it big conversations for a reason, right? But so the other thing that I wanted to talk about was the nature of, and this you've already hinted on, but the nature of Ugandan media content, right?
Yes.
And you said the pandemic of very terrible YouTube content during the pandemic, but also like TV content, right? So prime time right now, if you look at prime time Ugandan TV, right? It's the news, obviously. You mentioned Agatali Konfufu, which is, it's barely news. I wouldn't argue with that. I wouldn't argue with your friend who said they don't particularly know who is targeting, but it's,
they know their audience.
I know for the producers, the people who prepare the show, they know who they want to talk to. But if you look at news, if we bring Agatali Konfufu, if we bring pre-news, say on NBS, there's Uncut, Well, NTV and even NTV actually. NTV pretends to be so classy, but it has soaps, right?
Urban TV recently just started one. It's always two women.
Yeah, exactly.
Spark TV,
yeah.
two women.
Spark TV,
NBS, two women.
yeah.
I think even Bukete.
I
Urban TV has theirs. Yeah, I know the formula.
So I'm saying, and the nature of these shows, right, is to, I don't know, my assumption is to sort of increase the level of hatred people have towards each other. This is like the only way you can group them up in one category is that they all make you hate someone, right? So what usually happens is, it's rare that you'll find on Uncut a story that is totally about good news, right?
Something
so they could
progressive.
say, yeah, exactly. They could say, no, even if it's not like entirely progressive, they could say, this guy went to a wedding, right? Eddie Kenzo, say Rema. Rema went to a wedding with Hamza. And that is supposed to be the story. But then when the thing is ending, what they have as their punchline is, what did Eddie Kenzo say? What are people commenting about Eddie Kenzo? So we have someone.
Violence.
Yeah, exactly. We get the violence. I think that's the word now on social media, right? And, the nature of content like this, what do you think, for example, would be a good way to because again, you say you have sort of part of your brand is to maintain this quality that is also, I don't know the word actually, that is not profane. I don't know the positive word for not profane.
Okay, from the beginning I've strived to be a brand, first of all, that parents are comfortable letting into their house for Sunday lunch.
True.
People see you on TV and they call their kids to watch. They don't chase them to bed or change the channel. It's Daniel Omara, that guy. Because I come from a Christian family. My parents are church elders. And I believe I represent more than just my brand. It's my family legacy as well. So that's why I'm very cautious about these things. And like I said, much as I may not agree with them, it's not my platform.
Yeah, true.
Now, on the issue of TV, I'm sorry I keep laughing. All I can say is, I think the tabloids have infiltrated TV culture. Tabloid culture has infiltrated TV.
The red paper stuff.
That's how I see it.
I see.
That's what's happening, because that's what tabloids were. Bad news galore. They never said anything progressive about people. It was always bad news. Oh, so and so went to perform in the US. Stuck there now. That's the part they focus on.
Yeah.
You understand? It was never that the gig happened. Even if you are not actually stuck there. Even if there was a delay in your flight, they'll find a way to make it horrible. I was seated at Salvador's show, Africa Laughs 2014. I had a trip to Nigeria for a tourism event. And that was the same week, that was the Ebola period, right?
Yeah.
So the show had been cancelled because of Ebola. Then the Monday right before the show was on a Saturday. Monday that week, the Ebola thing was lifted, the quarantine, the lockdown. And the guy tells me, if you can process your stuff this week, come through. So I processed my stuff. Friday, I went for Salvador's show, of course. I was seated at a table solo because the rest of the BTL cast was there. And I figured, let me let them hang. I can have this bottle of wine alone. I'm selfish like that. So I sat with my bottle of wine and I'm enjoying the show. I'm chilling. At some point, I look down to check out something on my phone. They take a picture of me, post it in the tabloid. Daniel Omara looking miserable at Africa Laughs because his trip to Nigeria was cancelled. Now, here's the problem with what they did. Number one is, they could have asked me because we were working in the same compound.
Yeah.
As in Urban TV, Kapalasan was right down there. They didn't. They just wrote their own version of the story. And then secondly, I'd put this on my CV. So now guys from companies are calling me, companies where I have gigs of like $2,000 booked, and they're calling me and they're like, we read the papers and it looks like you lied on your CV. You didn't go to Nigeria. They said the trip was cancelled. I'm like, no, call the reference number I gave you. Call Ikechi Uko. He'll confirm. Like, they don't care about what happens. They don't care about the consequences. And that culture, that tabloid culture of always give the worst, because I don't think Ugandans want to hear the worst.
Oh, but that's
what the media has trained them to be.
I see.
Yes, Ugandans can be cynical very often, but we can do better. We are just not trying. And the people who could help us achieve that are more interested in ratings than they are. in actually building a community.
Culture, yeah,
I mean, from a capitalist perspective, makes sense. Even narratively speaking, if you can ruin every good story, you're a very good storyteller. You're a very good storyteller. I have to give them that, but it hurts people.
I see, yeah. And also, anyway, for me, my opinion, long term, so what happens is there comes another, so this is what Red Pepper was, right? Red Pepper before was you put in a bunch of sexual content, and then the rest of it is Lugambo, basically that kind of stuff, right? But yeah, again, reach a time where it just couldn't be sustained, because when you're targeting cheap people, and people think it's a capitalism thing, right? It makes sense for NBS to do that because NBS is selling ads, right? In between Uncut over some, in between making noise about, for example, actually, one of the things that made me sad is my woman enjoys watching Uncut. So I unfortunately have to be in the same house, so I can't stay away from Uncut myself. But one of the story that makes me sad is this chick, some musician who has drug issues. Yeah. Well, I don't know. She denies having drug issues, but almost every episode, I don't know if it's Uncut or the other thing on Spark, every episode they keep sort of bringing it up with her. We've had, she got baptized recently.
Oh, Nina Rose.
Yeah. So every episode they keep bringing it up with her. If she actually has drug issues, then what they're doing is really, really messing up a human life, right? And the issue with that is, at some point, they're going to become boring, right? These two characters on, say, NBS, people are going to get fed up of them, They won't become either too old or, some other prettier or more cruel thing, that kind of host will come around and they'll get fed up and these guys will go. And the problem with that is when you go, there is nowhere else you can go. You can't be, what's her name? Zahara Toto. You can't be, Zahara Toto was on Uncut, and now, there's a better show than Uncut, or like a worse show than Uncut. Actually, that's the metric. There's a worse show than Uncut. I'm now doing something else. That is like your career. You have to either be that person forever. Or, it's very myopic, in my opinion.
It's like Lil Jon. If you make a song and you're not yelling.
Yeah, exactly.
It won't sell.
True.
Okay. Let me speak from my experience with tabloids. And I will tell you, I've never appeared in the news on shows like Uncut. And personally, it does. Yeah. I'm even comfortable not being in the tabloids anymore, because a lot of people will tell you all publicity is good publicity, depending on how you spin it and what point in your life it finds you in. I'll give you the example of 2012 when parted ways with the hostel, right? It wasn't an amicable parting of ways. So the tabloids jumped on it and they started writing stories. And they wrote lots of stories. They called me for interviews and they would ask me questions, but I never saw my answers appear in the papers because they had chosen their narrative. Yeah. Omara is the bad guy. Omara left the hostel to throw it under, to make it collapse. At one point, there's a headline that says, Deutsch steals hostel money. I don't work in finance. I don't have a key to the safe. I don't even know the account number. But that was the headline. And I thought, Ugandans are smarter than this, right? Then they wrote another one, how drugs and alcohol ruined Deutsch's career. And they just kept these things coming. And people were eating it up. And I thought, Ugandans are smarter than this. Till I walked into a law firm and met this woman who was like, even now you're stealing hostel money. Kali, I had so much faith in you. I'm like, I don't have the accounts and what. She's like, first we know you celebrities. Now we have built a culture. Of course, this happens, I think, in every country. Right? Yeah, true. But I'm telling you why it's not right. Because I had people on the streets yelling at me. Why don't you just go back to the hostel? So people getting abusive. Like people are mad at you for something that wasn't your fault. So I went and locked myself in the house for, I think it was from October, November 2012 till around May 2013 when I got my job with Urban TV. But in that time, I didn't want to meet with people. You feel like the whole world is against you. So I can understand that people have money to make. People have a business to do.
Yeah.
But man, these tabloids push things far.
I see. But isn't that also...
Isn't what?
So my question is, like for that specific scenario, and I didn't follow up, but it seems it's not like very new. I've had something similar to that. Isn't that because you're getting the multiple vectors of attack? You're getting attacked, say, from people in, say, the guys who run hostel, and I don't want to put in a situation where you naysay people, things like that. But this is my opinion, right? People say, for example, produce hostel, who think it's better for them to hijack the narrative, so they pay the tabloids to push. Is that a scenario you anticipate, or you think the tabloids just did this as tabloids themselves?
Of course, I looked at that as a scenario. I looked at it as a very probable scenario. The guy who was running the show has had a history in media.
Yeah.
He knew people. And me as the 23-year-old kid who didn't know anyone. And the reason I was quiet about the issues because I knew from the start it was a battle I couldn't win. You couldn't, right? You couldn't. Now, regardless of whether the tabloids were paid to do this or not, the narrative they drove cost me friends, cost me business, it cost me a lot of things.
And also mental health, by the way.
Yes, and by that time, we're not having the mental health conversation. But I realize now I was in a very dark place. Actually, looking back on it now, I realize how bad it was. I was just playing the same level of the same video game every day from morning to evening. That I wasn't picking calls, I wasn't talking to people, not even my own family. I just wanted to be left alone. And what happened is I nearly quit the entertainment industry in my third year of entertainment. It was 2009, 2011, 2012, and I was ready to give up. By 2013, I was like, I'm done. If this is what the industry is, if people can package and sell a lie like this and be okay with it and meet you first, I would meet journalists from tabloids and this is business. Don't take it personal. Nowadays, I don't. You get. But I also made a conscious decision to just step out of the limelight a little bit. Just step out of it. I'm like, look, this is no longer about being relevant. I established my niche audience. Yeah. I have my crowd. I have my gigs. I have people calling me for events. I don't even show photos of myself when I'm going to do gigs. Someone might shoot the plane down. Like that's how paranoid I've become.
Yeah, no, true. I see what you mean. Yeah,
that's how paranoid I've become. So I started to value privacy after that incident. But I'll tell you one thing: it's the reason a lot of Ugandan entertainers don't care anymore. They just don't. Even when you're telling the truth now, they don't care because you've hit me with worse before. What's new that you're going to throw at me that's honestly going to break me? If what had happened in 2012 happened now, I would laugh. I would smile it off. But it takes a lot for you to get there. And that's what the industry is. That's the reality of what the industry is. You either grow a thick skin or you die in your movie. I'm sorry to say this. But at the end of the day, that's the lesson you need to learn. Yes, I understand. It hurts. It is painful. Witnessed it, felt it firsthand. But you have to rise above it and continue. Because it won't stop.
No, I agree.
It's not going to stop. If anything, it might just get worse. Now that people are... Part of the reason this is also happening is people are avoiding the real conversation. It's a scapegoat. Personally, that's what I feel.
What's the real conversation?
Because people are too scared to talk about politics, for example.
I agree. No, that's true. Yeah. So, I think you're right. And I think also the other version of it is the people who run the politics don't want to be talked about, and so they have sort of a vested interest in pushing these other narratives. If the majority of attention, if I spend my weekend hating on Daniel, then I don't have to remember that there is a pothole on my way to work. I mean, I remember, but I don't have to spend time ranting about the pothole on my way to work. And also that's a thing also that happens on social media, right? Yep. When something funny happens, when something very politically controversial happens, then the tabloids start to hit, like celebrities start to fuck up their lives for some reason. And then you end up realizing, if you tweeted about, say, a corruption scandal, people won't be very interested because, Chameleon just slapped someone.
Usually it goes very easily, by the way, from this is happening to what Bebe Cool thought about what is happening.
Exactly. True.
Yeah, so it's no longer about the issue.
Those guys, Baggio, what's the name of that fat chick?
Full figure.
I mean, it goes very easily from this is the actual problem to this is Full Figure's opinion.
And she's ranting and raving and saying some random things. But that is the world we live in now. And I will be honest with you. The older you grow, the more gray areas you see. 10 years ago, I would have said, F it. I'm going to attack politicians. Because it's my duty. You watched Business Unusual, the show I did on Urban TV.
Yeah.
I left very okay. And to this day, people ask me, Omara, no one threatened you with death. I'm like, no, the show was funny. It was funny. I mean, it tackled real issues, but it was funny.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I'm like, you know what? Safety first.
I see.
If I can do something that's not going to get me into trouble,
I'll opt for that.
Yes, because I'm the breadwinner. I'm one of the breadwinners of my family. I am not going to, I don't want to see people mourning me I'm not ready to go. First of all, we all know how risky this stuff is, and I have to be real with you.
And I agree.
Initially, I wanted to be the hero that people rallied behind, but I don't have Bobby's heart. Let me be frank with you. I am not that guy.
I agree with you. I think it's the same. I think it's sort of a life phase as well, in your early mid-20s.
When you're very idealistic.
Exactly. It's important to change the world.
It is important to change the world, but you don't have to be on the front line of every battle.
True.
You can make your contribution, and most especially, all I can say is be smart about it. A lot of people are being very, very loud, like making noise and stuff. Come give your opinion. Check out.
Yeah.
Say something. Check out. I mean, be aware of the situation.
Yeah.
At the very least, for yourself and for your family. You have to know what's going on. You have to be aware. You have to take a stand. But you have to do it in a smart way. Don't jump out there to get yourself taken out.
True. I see what you mean.
You're more valuable alive.
Yeah.
Even to the struggle, you're more valuable alive.
Exactly.
Be smart about it.
And I think before, people took it for granted that, the government is capable of such cruelty. But now the stories that come on social media of the drones and what, and, people getting tortured, like, people like people power guys, the NOP guys are getting tortured in tanks by, at CMI and stuff like that. Now people know this shit is actually real. I think one guy tweeted recently when there was this whole, fake news about Museveni's demise. One guy got put in a truck and he got pierced and stuff like that. And he tweeted the whole story, and now people know shit is real, man. Shit is real.
People know
we are
stuff
becoming
is real.
Russia quicker than we are becoming anything else.
Yeah, I want things to change. I would love for things to change. I am not going to be suicidal about it. I'm just going to put it out there. I understand people feel the need to be heard all the time. I mean, we have all these movements. Of which, like I said, there's a time when I would have jumped on bandwagons, right? Like feminism and what. But nowadays, I'm just...
Yeah.
I'm like, look.
Your peace of mind is also important.
My peace of mind is important. What I'm doing is far more important than was. I am aware of the situation. I am aware, and it's important to be aware.
Yeah.
So try and resolve it go vote, say something, talk, speak up. I sound like I'm contradicting myself.
Yeah.
But there's a difference between speaking up and trying to go missing.
Yeah. No, I agree. Also,
it's a thin line.
Yeah.
But sometimes how you put your message across, and I keep telling people this because I get into a lot of arguments. Personally, I love discussion because I always walk in with the mentality that I might be wrong. So fix my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. Yes. But I end up in arguments because people want to be right, and I get it. Cool. That's your thing. But you have to learn how to practice moderation in your delivery, right? There's a difference between me telling you this show could use a better backdrop, but I love the content, the lighting is amazing, right? And me coming and saying, your show is trash.
No, that's what I was going to say. Sort of the nature of criticism also.
Yes.
There's some of it that's actionable. You say, get a backdrop, and we're like, okay, But then when you say it's trash, what you meant is a backdrop, then we wonder, is it the content?
Like, what
is it the lighting?
Exactly?
Exactly.
Yes, because it's easier when you call out the actual issue. You can't just generalize the rants. It's also a problem I have with Ugandans and the film industry. Okay, Ugandan criticism of things. It's always, you guys are this.
Terrible.
You're like, who though? When you say comedians are vulgar, which one? Who? Give us a name so we can hunt him down together.
I see. That's where I want to go now. That's where I want to go. Before the show started, you talked, you had some very strong opinions on film. Yeah, and I understand this. You've been an actor for a while, and how do you assess the film industry right now? And you have a little bit more experience probably than anyone listening here. From as far back as you remember. How do you assess where the industry is right now, but also the kind of progress? How do you assess it?
Okay, I have a theory about the film industry.
Yeah.
Call it I don't have a fancy name for it. Basically, every decade.
True.
Every decade, at the start of every decade, there's a revolution in film. We saw it in the early 90s with Life Mwatu, Vivao, Tobero Alakat, and a bunch of AIDS movies, which I personally never liked because, like I always said, the message was focused more on than the entertainment value. They overdid the message, but also didn't get it through. Early 2000s, same thing happens. We have Hand in Hand. We have, what was the other show? Why do I keep forgetting the shows of the early 2000s? There's a bunch of them and they were really good. Center 4. Was Tendo Sisters? No, Tendo Sisters was way. Tendo Sisters was the 2010 version, right? So early 90s, early 2000s, early 2010s, we had Hostel, Deception. That's when, the film industry went crazy again. 5 at Home. This is the next one now. It has started.
With Lukman Ali. Who else is
Lukman Ali, DSTV.
I know DSTV
Prestige.
is the best.
I think this is the most comfortable I've been in the film industry. It is no longer Kuyiya.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like the project I'm on, Prestige. I know I'm going to walk to the bank and find my money in the account on the 27th.
Yeah.
I'm on a retainer.
I see.
So I don't have to worry about a retainer that pays my rent, my water bill, my electricity, buys clothes, condoms, the basics. And it can stock up my fridge and stuff. And that's just one thing I'm doing right now. So film right now is actually in a very, very good place. It's for maintaining and growing. Lukman, of course. Yeah, Lukman. If you can put Lukman and DSTV side by side, you know how big the guy is. He has done his job. So props to the Nawisos who are doing their productions. Props to Nathan Magola for Prestige. Dillman, I think. There's a bunch of guys, executive producers who need their due recognition. Quality-wise, we are going to struggle with that a bit because people are putting out 100, 200, 260 episodes per season. And these episodes are airing 5 days a week. So you have to work really fast to get a good product out. All I ask people is be objective in your criticism of Ugandan film, for example. I don't like this thing Ugandans do where someone goes on Facebook and says, I didn't like episode 1 of Beneath the Lies. The sound was bad. I just didn't enjoy the show. Then the next 10 comments are, okay, even me, I'm not going to watch it. You've seen that thing.
I see.
Please stop doing that because
I see.
It kills it for you.
We had the same issue with our podcast. So we've struggled significantly with the sound. I think we are now 40 episodes in.
This is bougie, man. This is very bougie.
This is now a big step forward. But we've struggled a lot with the sound. And some of the comments we at some point had to censor some of YouTube. Some guy would come and say, this episode I tuned in, the sound is shit, I just stopped. And then you see like it's getting more than 10 likes. You're like, this one we have to just censor it because it's discouraging. It's obviously correct criticism. It's a fact.
People click the video and then go to the comments
exactly.
as the video plays.
Exactly. So when the person sees even if someone is willing to give the content a second shot, but when he sees someone who's as frustrated as him,
there's
like,
a bias.
We are many. And then it goes away, that kind of stuff. But
grow.
Yeah, true. But so back to the film, right? So again, mostly the audience is not a professional critic, right? So
the audience is not a professional critic, but they are very well entitled to their opinion. And most of them don't know what it is that bothers them. To be fair.
Okay.
They are not professional critics. Someone's going to tell you, the movie was But what he's actually saying is, I liked the story.
Yeah.
But the cinematography was off. Exactly. But they don't know the word cinematography.
True.
They don't have the experience.
And they don't even know. Sometimes you don't even know that it's the frame that just didn't make sense. You know, the
Yes.
frame seems odd, but you don't know that this is an issue with the framing, right?
Yeah, like I'm watching a scene on TV and it's a conversation between a man and a woman, right? One of the Ugandan productions. And she has a flashback. So they cut to her close up. We have a look of doubt on her face. Then we cut to her flashback. And the flashback is a conversation between her and another guy, right? They talk. But then when we come back to this other shot, to this scene we are in, between her and this dude, it comes back from his shot.
Oh, yeah.
So now we are confused about whose flashback it was. I mean, I saw a look. The lady I was watching it with was like, there's that brief moment, but she didn't know how to package it. I knew exactly what was going on. But so audiences are not stupid.
No.
People have keen eyes. They're very observant. And like I said, they want to participate.
Yeah.
They want to, but they don't know the right words to express
and isn't it like what's so the big part of Hollywood is the criticism culture as well. You know, the reviews and criticism. So before your movie goes to the theaters, you give it to a few special you give it to New York Times, you know, and those guys look at it. The pros look at it, and they make criticism. Tomatoes. Exactly. Rotten Tomatoes usually actually they sort of collect all the criticisms, but like these the writers, the
professional critics,
exactly,
yes,
those guys, they criticize, and maybe that's what's missing in our industry as well. You know, if for example,
yes, I agree with you. We don't have the most objective film critics. I mean, I like Serugo. I like Serugo. He has his moments, but for the most part, Moses is a very objective critic.
Yeah.
You know, Facebook fights aside, because you know sometimes he fights on Facebook and things. I think Rafsanjan was also a very good one. Not just in film, but generally being objective about something. Those are Timothy. What was it? Okay, we don't have people who specialize in critique of film alone. We have new things coming up like film buffs. Is it? Film buffs.
I don't think I've
Net Studios has something running.
Okay.
Where they critique.
Oh.
Yeah.
But that's international stuff, is it? Do they do local stuff?
And that's the other problem. A lot of us are not focusing on our local content.
Yeah.
Also because it's not that easy to access. But I'm sure if you walked up to the Nawisos or Matt Bish or Dilman Dilla, Davidson Mugume, Lucky Laura, all of these filmmakers, Pamela Kerieko, and asked them for their stuff, even Lukman, just ask them for the content. I am very sure they would be more than happy to let you watch it.
Yeah. So
because that's one of the ways we're going to promote the industry.
Two things for me, I thought, right? The first thing is the culture of reading and writing, right? It's not big in Uganda, and I'm not trying to be the guy who's going to change that. But the other thing is there are alternatives, right? And what we talked about before the podcast started, you talked about I don't know if you're comfortable sharing your big podcast idea or people will steal it.
Oh, theft is real, but it's just objective critiques.
Yeah. So exactly. Yeah. So what I'm saying is, you know, that other version, right? Which is like you're adding film you're adding that layer of film criticism.
Yeah.
But it's objective, right? So you go and tell Lukman, give me 16 rounds, and I watch it before you release it, and then you sort of release your podcast, you know.
Spoiler free.
Exactly, yeah. Which, of course, doesn't have spoilers, right? You release your podcast that has a trailer, you know, that has a trailer that's about, this is Lukman's film that's coming up. And people who are not able to sort of, who don't have the culture of like sitting down to read the whole essay of, you know, your review, your review of 16 rounds, can listen, you know. And again, you're a comedian, so you can put in a few jokes to sort of keep the people's attention, right? And that's like, in my opinion, that is a dimension we can add to the film industry that, you know, makes for quality film. Also, the thing is, if, say, the guy you said was frustrated about, say, a framing or the flashback, right? If that person just doesn't know, he knows he liked the film, but there's something that was off about it.
Yes.
If now you, who knows the flashback art, comes and says, this flashback was gotten wrong.
Yes.
And she reads it. The rest of the movie will, first of all, get together. That thing that was wrong she now can put a label on it.
Exactly.
So everything else makes sense.
Yeah,
right?
It's like if you watched Rolex, right? The Swung Avenue thing.
I watched Rolex.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I feel it wasn't the most original story, but it was a good one.
Yeah.
And the theme went round. The Rolex was at the very beginning, and it was the end of the movie. The sound was amazing because Swang's Avenue.
The
casting
quality was
on point. My problem was the lighting.
Oh, I see. Okay.
You get a few scenes where, I mean, they're meant to be dark, but like the scene where they're breaking into the house. It was very poorly lit, especially the compound. Now, if we started critiquing movies like that instead of saying, like you get, or you're just saying, like, I don't want. And then there's the Ugandan movies are trash category of people who have a very comfortable opinion based on pure ignorance. We need to start consuming our own products if we are going to save this. I mean, you've seen they're now taxing people flying out. Let's give them another tax base that can actually,
that makes sense.
Yeah, that can make sense.
True.
So me, I'm all for it. I'm all for. I want people to start, having like proper conversations, because I think most of the time we don't. Most of the time we have arguments. And yes, we love violence. I can't stand Twitter. I can't. I am there, but half the time I check Hilary Bamulinde, Robert Kabushenga, Comrade Otoa, Dr. Maggie Chigozi, people in film DSTV. That's the stuff. Because every time I come on Too Young Twitter, there's just violence. It's just violence. And I wish we could learn how to step away from that and just have productive conversations. People are angry. I see. And they're looking out for people to take it out on. But people also need to learn how to heal.
Yeah.
And I keep telling people about healing. And for me personally, one of the things that has made my life fairly easier now growing up is I've learned that never support anything, any movement, any ideology that doesn't preach healing.
Okay.
Don't.
So you're the Mandela
Gandhi. I am the Mandela Gandhi type. I understand people get angry, but at some point you have to learn how to, deal with it and move. You can't be powered by anger full time. You can't be powered by hatred. All those things have never built anything. They've destroyed a lot of things.
Yeah.
It's like, let me give you an example. You've heard of the Hadron Collider?
The one at CERN.
Particle accelerator machine that's designed to basically recreate the Big Bang.
Yeah.
I don't know how they expect it to go.
Okay, you think it's going to create an alternative universe?
We were lucky with the first Big Bang, where they said an explosion created a universe, right? But how many explosions have you seen create things since then? When have you ever seen, a bomb went off in Baghdad and a new skyscraper popped up?
I see.
You get my point. It destroys things. I'm not using the Hadron Collider as an analogy of hate. I'm telling you, explosions.
Yeah, I see.
Don't create good things, but they destroy things.
Yeah.
So it's always important to know what kind of movement you're in. Where is it going? What is their plan? And how do they do things? How do they talk to people? How do they treat people who disagree? For me, that's very important. We don't have to agree. We can... But we can part amicably. We'll even share a drink afterwards. This thing of I block everyone who challenges my opinion. Oh my, that kind of stuff needs to stop. So for me, that's where I'm coming. I love my peace. I enjoy my privacy. I could travel to the moon and come back quietly. As long as the rocket has a silencer. That's the kind of person I've become. It works for me.
I see what you mean. Yeah. So again, I want to go back a little bit into film, right? So I think you make a good point that criticism, can be the thing that kills film, but it also can be the things that they can be the thing that makes it grow, right? But also, say acting, where you're strong at, right? How do you judge act? And this is thing, I don't know. Okay, now for me, I don't know whether I blame the casting or I blame the actors, right? But I've seen some movies where I understand the story, and I'm a screenwriter as well, so I've read some people's scripts before they make them, right?
Yeah.
But maybe I haven't been able to commit to like be on set and stuff like that. But I read the story and I'm like, this could work. This isn't the best script ever, but this is good, right? Go on and shoot it. And then I see the actress reading a line that I read before. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, how can the director let you get away with this, right?
Like, where is this?
So I'm wondering, how do you assess? the art of performance, scripted performance, acting?
Well, to be fair, it has improved a lot.
Okay.
It has improved a lot. I have to give props to the industry for where it is now. I won't lie, we rely heavily on typecasting.
Mm-hmm.
We rely very heavily on typecasting because the industry is young. Number one, we don't have that many extraordinary actors. You get like actors that we would say, who switches roles easily. Johnny Depp has been stuck in weird for a very long time. Let's say someone like Charlize Theron.
What's the name of my...
If you looked at her in Monster, then you looked at her in Mad Max Fury Road, then you looked at her in Italian Job. 3 totally different people. Same woman. The art of getting into different characters. We have Mike Wawio Jr. for that man.
Wawio, that guy is my hobby by the way.
Yes, that guy has lost weight for role. He gets into character like a problem. He lost weight to play a cancer role. I think it took its toll on him and stuff like that. But there's only a few actors that can do that. And we don't have the time to test. We don't have the time to test them out. So it's the reason why we keep bringing in the same actors. Because you're like, look, the training is lacking. Savannah Moon, Ava Juliet Productions. I think even Maisha Film Lab. And even Matt Bish and the Nawisos. They provided training for actors. But still, you can't cast them in lead roles.
Yeah, but even when I was at Maisha, I did that Maisha thing, but the focus again wasn't mostly the actors, right? Mm-hmm. The focus was everyone else who does the film apart general. From the actors. And I feel like that is missing. It's the story is important.
Yes.
But that canvas, where the guy who performs that role, you can writing a novel, you can write about the angry father, and the person reading your novel will feel the anger of that father.
Yes.
But in a movie, because the person who's watching the movie hasn't read the script, if the actor doesn't pull off that angry father, people will never know that the father was actually well written, or well envisioned by the director.
Yeah.
But that sort of thing is, for me, I feel like it's missing a lot in what?
Ugandan film.
Yeah, in Ugandan film, we don't have, say, a school when its dedication is...
dedicated to acting.
Yes.
No, but that's besides Maisha Film Lab. That's what all these other production houses did. They focused on the acting.
Okay.
Nana Kaga brought in, what were they? Where were they from? Some guys from Los Angeles. This is 2018, I think, to run a film class. It was just one day. Even Kansime attended. Lucy Smize. There were some really big names in the industry who went to attend because it was a proper free of charge, by the way. Just show up at Savannah Moon, register your name. So there's been an effort to train actors and stuff, but mostly we rely on typecasting because there's a squad of people we can trust. And also for older and younger roles, there's a shortage. We don't have enough veterans and newbies. Most of us are the in-between, 20s, 30s, maybe early 40s, but 50s onwards. We have... Aunt Jewa, Aunt Kaya, Mike Wawio Sr., Andrew Benon Chivuka, who else? And what's her name? I keep forgetting her name. Okay, there's my memory.
So, but I know the people we're talking about.
We also have the same crisis. We don't have enough child actors.
I see.
So, it's a growing industry. It's growing, and also to the actors, you're going to keep getting typecast until you decide to switch up the role. You're going to be stuck
until you so
yes,
that's also
I had to make a conscious effort to stop being the comedian.
I see,
because everybody was taking me for that. After I did the Airtel, the Zain ad as the Luo guy, then I did the Hostel as a Deutsch. Every role after that was, we need the accent.
We need the funny guy.
We need the funny guy. So I had to step out of it because I know what I went through with Odoch. It was a year and a half of getting that character out of my system because I'd invested so much of him into the show.
I see.
Then they killed him. What people don't know is I mourned the death
of
a person, but I didn't know I was mourning. So, I just sort of slipped into a dark place without even realizing it. But you have to make a conscious decision, step out of your roles. Because I received very many scripts after that. I want you to do this with Akite as they not no. I want you to do this with so and so as they no. Like just you have to step out of the character. So when they gave me Paul Mukasa in Beneath the Lies 2014, I was like, finally,
Someone is.
I can be something
an
different.
actor,
I can be a quiet character who is a bit weird. Personally, I don't think I killed that role. I was very mentally absent. I hadn't come back yet mentally, but it was a good opportunity to, exercise.
Diversify as well. Yeah.
Yes, diversify. So now I'm cast as Stevo Tim, who is basically a financial analyst, wealth and assets manager. He's a nerdy guy.
Yeah.
Wears specs, wears suits all the time.
Yeah.
Speaks calmly. Not a humor bone in his body. He's just, and a lot of people have told me, you guy, we struggled. We were waiting for the jokes. We were waiting for the punchlines. We were waiting for you to say something stupid. We were waiting for the accent to change. I'm glad I don't have to change the accent because that accent stuck.
The one for Dodge.
I was in character for so long. Every time they said action, the accent would change. So when I left the hostel, I would be sitting somewhere like this interview, right?
Yeah.
Before he calls action, we're having a normal conversation. So after this, we're going to go to the bar and grab a drink, like chill out, just catch a pint, discuss business, talk about that podcast we had planned to do. Action. Now, what I was saying is that you have to do this thing like this. Like you just
I see.
flip.
Wow.
But I have to warn anyone planning to join film. It's an investment. I'm not saying they're going to charge you money. They're not supposed to charge you money for auditions, by the way. If people don't know this, they should know now. Not supposed to charge you money for auditions. It's an emotional investment. It is going to take you places you didn't want to go.
Yeah, no, true.
Because there are scenes that will require you to do something, and by the time someone has cast you in that role, they expect you to be able to execute accordingly. I did a movie called Heaven Sounds Boring, short film, with Patience Nitugwensiga. I can't believe how I forgot Patience out of the list of good directors. But so I worked with her on the project, and I'm a father to a dying child. And there's a scene that needed me to cry. No, you know us, man. We are the hardy guy. Cry for what? Turn down for what? No tears, man. Hashtag.
Yeah.
I had to find a way to pull it off. So I had to go into my head and look into one of my deepest fears.
Oh, I see. I thought you got onions. But...
No. I didn't want to ruin my breath in the process. I wanted to cry, but I didn't want to have bad breath after that. And I went to one of the people I love the most in this world, my nephew. It's called Ethan. He's a bit of a dick sometimes, but I love him. He's a good kid. He's stubborn. And I killed him in my head.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Because that's the closest I come to being a parent.
I see.
I'm his godfather. He's my nephew. My sister's son. He's like a child to me. So I had to, in my mind, I put his face on the kid.
I see.
And the scene went quite well. The movie aired on YouTube. It was for I think Sundance Film Festival, one of those. Ngalabi Short Film Festival. They are yet to re-upload. And people loved it. My sister told it was so moving. My nephew was like, I could have done better. But it's life, right?
Yeah.
But for like 3 months, my tear ducts were just loose. I couldn't control tears anymore. I had tapped into a place that us guys never go.
Yeah.
We never go. I tapped into a place of vulnerability, and now I couldn't close the tap. So I'm stuck there, crying over small things. Kill a mosquito. He probably had a life and wife and children at home. Why? Like you're just emotion. Things that never used to move you. Those YouTube videos of random acts of kindness. You find a tear flowing down. Now it's confusing as a man because you're like, why?
Yeah, and it becomes embarrassing if it happens in public.
Yes, it becomes very embarrassing.
Like, these people are going to think I'm a sad person.
Yeah, so I had to go back to again learning how to not cry. But now I've unlocked a side of me that it's easier to access. So pulling off the crying scenes, emotion, heart is a lot simpler now. It's a growth process, but you're going to break and rebuild yourself over and over.
And that's what acting is.
Yes, that's what acting is, especially if you're going to take on a diversity of roles.
Yeah. I see.
If there's a side of you that has to die, because there's a time when I couldn't pull off a serious role. I had to throw in a joke somewhere. But now I am very comfortable being the guy who sits cross-legged and delivers business information with a straight face.
I see.
I may burst out laughing after the scene is done. I may throw a stupid joke when they yell cut, but serious on TV. So it's a journey.
I see. The other conversation is about content. No, rather, So quantity versus quality, right? I know Hostel had like 1 billion episodes, right?
It was 99 per season.
Yeah, 99. By the way, Kennedy directed some later halves of Hostel. Kennedy is a good friend of mine.
Kennedy Kihire.
Yeah.
He came in after, I think it was season 3 after I had left.
That's okay. So he was telling me like what that meant, right? So we have, I think we are working on something together as well, but we were talking about what it meant to do Hostel, having to shoot almost a new episode every day, and what that meant. Like the things you have to compromise as an artist,
yes,
just so you can produce the business part of it,
yes.
And that is the conversation we're having. And I'm wondering, like you've been through this, and I'm thinking Hostel is not the only show, right? It's not a standalone. Many shows that make money, that aim to make money at least, have to produce at that rate.
Yes, yeah.
Sort of what's your opinion on this?
Okay, I've never agreed with the 100 episode formula. Never been a fan of it, because I believe if you made 13 solid episodes per season, you would have a very good show with a solid story. But usually we end up doing what animes do, filler episodes, right? Like a random filler episodes that's just there to buy time and what. You can't. The quality is hard to maintain. It's very hard because every screw up leads to a backlog, which is going to cause another problem. It's a high pressure situation, and believe me, just pulling it off alone, I give props. I give props. To the guys of the Hostel for pulling it off, to the Nawisos, to Nathan Magola with Prestige, I give props. It tires people out though. Yeah. People get exhausted. The writers especially, all that. And in all of these things I've been in, you're always just a few episodes away from transmission, from broadcast, I mean. Mm-hmm. So it's a constant race. We have to stay ahead. So it's a very high pressure situation. I mean, the formula has worked in Kenya. It has worked in Kenya, but Kenya is also a far more developed film industry than we are.
Yeah, true.
Though I take it, here's how I'm learning how to look at it, because I told me it's always one thing after another. I'm learning to look at it as a stress test of sorts. It's like how in comedy we used to have to perform weekly for the same audience. Every week you had to write new material. It's high pressure, right? But it builds you for tougher situations.
I see.
So, like I say, I may not agree with it, but it has its perks. It's putting pressure on us to be more productive, to strive for more, to write more. It's like exercising more.
New Twitter calls it suffering Olympics. Are you saying the suffering is inevitable?
The suffering is inevitable. It's inevitable, because if you're going to grow, you have to suffer.
True.
A bit.
I agree.
But I think we're going to get to a point where we catch up with it.
But isn't it the market? So I know Netflix is willing to give you good money if you have 13 really good episodes, right? But NBS will not, even if they are all, 16 rounds quality, right? NBS still doesn't make the money if all it has is to sell ads for 13 episodes, right? Yeah. So for them, because again, their business is the advertising business, they don't, as long as you can get 200 people, well, I don't know the numbers, maybe 1,000 Ugandans to look at a story filler, for 99 days, that is more money for them. The quality is not really that important. So the nature of distribution. So one thing is we wait for Netflix to feel comfortable enough to buy our content. That is one way. The other option is we invent a way to distribute our content that allows us to be artists, right? So then we don't have to work on the pressures of the markets. I mean, obviously the market, you can't ignore it entirely. But if you let the market decide your own artistic perspective, then you're no longer an artist. You become, a manager. You become like one of those other guys who do everything else but art. Exactly. Yeah.
Look, let people make their money, by the way. Because I am not going to lie to you. The only point from which I disagree with the 100 episode formula is from the quality perspective. Yeah. It's hard to sustain quality, but from every other angle, I don't have a problem. Because believe me, it means I get paid more. You get it. True. A sustainable project of 260 episodes a season. That's about 14 months of work
Yeah.
on a retainer. I am not going to complain about that. I'm not going to say, stop it. I'm not going to. I'm going to do my best to deliver on my end and pray that the rest of the team has their stuff together so that we can all, it's a team effort in the end.
Yeah.
So if everyone knows what they're supposed to be doing, no matter how much you pile on people, they'll okay, not no matter how much, you have to try to be a bit realistic, but people take on the job and they know what they're doing and they do it with a passion, which is one thing I love about our industry. We are in the passion phase. Most people are doing this for the passion, and the money is just a stabilizing factor. Of I love this.
Yeah.
I'm also getting paid. That's the vibe we're in right now. We haven't yet gotten to that point where it's like, if you don't have 10 million per minute, I'm not coming to even read your script. We haven't yet. One day we will.
I see.
Eventually, and I will try not to be that guy. But already we're at a point where we have casts that we don't audition. There are people you just call.
Yeah. True.
Because we are building our next generation of legends, and I'm happy to be a part of this journey right now. Because I'll be sitting home 20, 30 years from now, looking back like,
this is us.
Being a kid on set.
Yeah.
It is fun though.
I see. Yeah, no, true. Yeah, so let's I think this is a very good conversation. But before we like wrap up, I wanted to understand, Omara Daniel, what is the story behind this man? What inspires you to become a comedian? What inspires you to get into acting? What is the story behind, school and all that? I want to hear the story from the beginning as you remember it.
Let me see. As supposed to be called Melchizedek. That's the name my dad had suggested. As the first kid born after my parents became born again Christians.
I see.
So every religious ideology was...
Yeah.
So Melchizedek means high priest, apparently. Yeah, but my mom disagreed with the name. And thank you, mom. Thank you very much. Because you can't be called Omara Melchizedek Pikwiyuli. I already have a complex family name. I think it's part of the reason I'm not married yet. Women just look at me like, I can't be Mrs. Pikwiyuli. Why? Why though? But I come from a family, very Christian family, also very traditional African. And my dad is a scientist. So he's a born again scientist.
How does that work?
Essentially, he's like an Indian vampire. You know how rare they are.
Yeah.
Because too much garlic. So you rarely find that those opposites combining. And
what does it do in science? What specifically?
He was a teacher.
Okay.
Yeah, you see how we go full circle. How I ended up becoming a teacher of literature and arts, a teacher of sciences. I like the family philosophy because it's about balance. I mean, you have a born again traditional African scientist, but pick the best of everything, right?
Yeah. True.
That's the kind of life I was raised in. Pick the best of everything. There's no ideology is perfect, so just pick the most of everything. And I just grew up with that mentality. I used to draw stickmen in school. I liked comic books.
Yeah.
I'd always had an idea. They told me I was wasting time. Look at me now, mom. But the part I love about my family is they were very supportive. I fought with my dad a bit over the comedy thing because it was supposed to be a choice between a duke and a comedy. Okay, teaching and comedy. And I was like, I am not going back to class. You know what my greatest fear was about being a teacher?
What's that?
Meeting a younger Omara.
I see.
No, because I know the pain in the ass I was to teachers in high school.
Around,
Yeah, I wasn't rowdy. I was just a stubborn kid. I used to ask questions. And I used to store memories. I'm that kid who used to keep vendettas against teachers. Like a teacher in P1 gave me a question and said 3 minus 1 equals, I raised my hand, 2. Guys like, well done. I asked the teacher, what is 1 minus 3? He says, no, it is impossible. I meet the same teacher now in P4 and he's teaching me about integers. With -1, I'm like, boss. I was like, Mark Morrison, you lied to me. It was personal. I was hurt that you couldn't have just told me the truth. So I have always been that person. Just question things. Became a teacher. When I joined comedy, I decided I am going in to teach as much as I can, even with my style of comedy. I've always been a fan of Chris Rock. Of all the comedians. I mean, I love Dave Chappelle, but Chris Rock is like my guy.
Yeah, I see.
Chris Rock is the guy I grew up watching. And from the time I saw him in Lethal Weapon 3, 2, where he delivers this line, there's a container full of dead Chinese, and they've come to investigate. And he's standing there and they're asking him questions, and the guy's like, I mean, look at this. As if we don't have enough violence in America, but now we are importing victims. And I was really young, but I saw the line and I was like, I like this guy. Then his voice and his delivery.
His voice is...
And the fact that he will make you laugh about something. He will help you understand something and then make you laugh about it. I didn't know anything about American Congress, but I would watch Chris Rock specials and get what he was talking about and where he was coming from. So I structured my sets around that. Always have some knowledge to drop.
Yeah, I see.
Right? Like if you get on stage and say 5 reasons why I think women enjoy sex more than men, and you start giving your 5 reasons, and of course one of them is stick your finger in your ear, move it around gently, tell me what feels better, the finger or the ear. So there's a sort of and you make the audience participate so that they know exactly what you're talking about. So it was always about delivering a message or an idea, but while making it funny. And I do this because I love it, man. I enjoy this stuff. This is bare for me. I don't see myself stepping back into a classroom, but I've used that knowledge to train comedians. It's been a fun journey, man.
No, that sounds interesting. That's I think that's a wrap for us. Thank you very much for coming. This has been a very good conversation.
Thank you for having me.
I've enjoyed it, and I think I'll definitely have you on some other time so we can. Let's first wait for some controversies to come up, and then we bring you to.
No, I would love to.
Pardon
me, I'm used to talking to myself. This.
No. I enjoyed it. I was following a lot. I think that's also the nature of the podcast. We're going where we want. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.